Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sports Writers. Everybody's here. Bill Stacy, Nick Kukuru, Matt Williams, Nick Giannino. I'm Bill Newell with MSO News Sports, and we're here to talk local North Shore sports. In particular, we can digress and go a little beyond that for sure. But Nick Giannino, I want to start with you, and you're on the basketball beat at the Salem News, and maybe you want to pick a topic. We're gonna have everybody pick a topic today in the podcast, and so Nick, I thought maybe I'd have you start off, and I'm guessing it'll be basketball related.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm going to give Phil credit on this one. He mentioned some of the young talent we got in the area this year, and obviously that starts with Ryder Frost in Beverly. So I'd like to highlight some of our younger players really making an impact on teams. And Ryder, a sophomore for Beverly, 6'5". We've spoken about him on this podcast before. Deserves a lot of credit. He has the Panthers unbeaten heading into Tuesday night's matchup with Salem, which when you guys watch this, maybe they have lost to Salem. They are going on the road. Salem is 10-2 themselves. So, but either way, a great start for Ryder Frost, having some huge games offensively. And the thing with him is he doesn't play like a sophomore. He wants the ball. He wants the big shots. He's had multiple games where he's come up with momentum swinging sequence, or whether it's a block on defense and a subsequent layup on the other end, or it's a big three or what have you. He's been playing huge for them. So shout out to Ryder Frost, leading the way as a sophomore. We'll see if he sticks around Beverly, but they're obviously focused on this season right now, playing in Division One. Looking across the league, we have a lot of talented juniors, but I'm trying to think of some other.
Well, how about Brayson Green for Salem, the freshman?
That's exactly what I was just going to mention. You read my mind.
You know how good you got to be to get on the floor for Tommy Doyle as a freshman? I mean, that's usually a short rotation, and I remember years ago we would chat about Salem, and they would always have some kid who started for the first time as a senior that you'd say, where's this guy been? He'd be the best player on a bunch of other teams and stuff. So to crack that lineup in ninth grade is, that speaks volumes to me. And he's a good player. He's very athletic. He's only going to get better. I don't think he has Frost's height yet. I don't know if he's, going to grow, but he's very quick off the dribble and can get to the rim. He's got good ups.
Yeah, and I think his biggest impact is...
Sorry, Nick, not to interrupt you, but the key, Willie, is that Tommy runs a short bench. I mean, if there are 3 subs in a game, that's a ton.
Right.
It's the starters, a 6-man, maybe a 7th guy, and that's pretty much it. So for him to get major minutes like that really speaks to not only his talent, but I think what the coaching staff thinks of him.
And his work ethic, too. I mean, I covered him maybe their first game back after that Florida trip, and Brayson didn't see a lot of time, but he's been – his minutes have been increasing as the season's gone on, and it's just tough for Tommy to take him off the floor. He's the type of kid that brings that length, which is something Salem doesn't really have, and athleticism, particularly on the defensive end. I mean, he's not going to wow you this year with his stats. Compared to Ryder, it's no comparison in terms of stats. I think he's averaging like 6 points, maybe 4 or 5 rebounds. But he doesn't need to pile up the stats to have an impact on the game. And that's kind of what Tommy's been figuring out with him, I think, as the season's gone on. He's just really reliable on defense. He brings that length, that athleticism, that versatility, and he can score when he needs to. So, yeah, Brayson Green, definitely a guy to watch out for these next few years, even this year with Salem at 10-2, like I said, heading into Tuesday's matchup. Let's see, across the area, a lot of juniors, like I said. I can't think of any real.
I think AJ Forte for Peabody, the sophomore guard.
He's only a sophomore. I was thinking about him, but I didn't know.
He can splash some shots too. I mean, they got some older guys that have been doing really well. It seems like the leading scorer kind of alternates between Forte and the senior Luke Roan. But he's given Peabody some scoring splash, and they're on pace to have their best record in 7, 8, 9 years, something like that, if they keep up the pace. So that's nice to see for them. And the 2 boys that score a lot for Swampscott are both sophomores, I believe. I can't.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I can't place the names. I know, the senior point guard, Cam
Evan
O'Brien.
Roth, is he a sophomore? Evan Roth? I thought he was
Yeah.
older.
It's Roth and Walls, I think, or is the
And
other
Wales,
one.
yeah, Liam Wales. Yep, you're
Yeah,
right.
sorry.
They've been
Yeah, so, I mean,
they've been scoring a lot.
And that obviously we know Cam O'Brien's one of the leading assist guys in the area, and that's because those two guys are finishing all those passes.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
I got a sophomore lead in my area too. Manchester Essex, Cade First. He's averaging a bit of shade over 17 a game. He's kind of really emerged the last few weeks. He was, their leading scorer before AJ Palazzola came back from his injury. But since they've inserted Palazzola back in the lineup, he's averaging well over 20 a game. He had 32 last week against North Reading. He had 24 on Monday night against Saugus. So he's kind of really emerges their go-to guy now that they kind of have to respect Palazzola getting into the paint. He's just been nailing threes at a pretty heavy rate.
And that's Kellen's younger brother, right? Who
It is, yeah. Kellen's younger brother, yep, who was a 1,000-point scorer.
Right. So pretty impressive. And Danvers too. They're playing a lot of underclassmen as well. I know they're struggling to find the win column, but he's got those kids battling. Simpson over there and Danvers, and every coach I speak to that plays Danvers, they say, man, that team plays hard. They gave us a scare. They can get hot, that kind of thing. So even regardless of their record, I think they only have one win at this point, Danvers. They've been, for the most part, pretty competitive, especially with a new look group over there.
Nick Kukuru, I want to just follow up with you on the Manchester Essex team, because we've talked about them a number of times here on the podcast over the last few weeks, but the health issue with Palazzola out has been a key. So he's been back now.
Yeah,
and
he's
so
been back
they're on a roll.
6-7 games. Yeah, I think they've won 6 in a row. They're 10-1 now. Big one coming up. I know they're at Hamilton Wenham Friday, which will obviously be a big one. That's the third time they play, so it's tough to beat a team 3 times. Then they host Amesbury next Tuesday, and that's basically the top 2 teams in the Cal Baker right there. So that should be a real barn burner next Tuesday in Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
And two more notes. One about Green, too, going back to Willie's point for Salem. He's the only freshman or sophomore on that varsity team. They got all juniors and seniors outside of him. So, he's doing something right for sure. And then at St. John's Prep, I'm just looking at the roster over here. I want to shout out Jack Angelopoulos. He's been playing some big minutes for them, too. He's only a sophomore. I think he had a huge game last week where he had a big second half to help them come back. So they're coming off a loss, but they're playing a lot better lately. And their schedule's just extremely tough. So they're going to benefit from that in the standings. St. John's Prep is the ranking.
And it's not unusual for very good tournament teams in high school sports to have a sophomore really contributing.
Yeah.
You can do it other ways, obviously, by having a junior, senior, or a senior-laden team for sure. But it's always great to see those teams with little class balance, if you will, where a sophomore is kicking in and pulling big minutes and making big plays, whether it be, basketball, hockey, or football, whatever. Sure.
And
Yeah,
while
there
we're
must
on
be
the
some sophomores doing it up in girls hockey, right? I mean, isn't Campasol for Peabody a sophomore? Or I know Megan McGinnity, the Beverly goalie's a sophomore.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's a few. I mean, obviously girls hockey is a different animal. You've got teams that have 7th and 8th graders, skating out there varsity minutes. So sometimes the sophomore has got 4 years of experience. That's not the case for the 2 that Phil mentioned, but Masconomet's got a whole bunch of 7th and 8th graders in the lineup this year. Marblehead has a bunch of 7th and 8th graders in the lineup too. So, a little bit different animal sometimes with that stuff. Obviously, the leading scorer in the area is Sarah Powers from Peabody. She's a freshman. She didn't play last year. Of course, Peabody with their 3 schools, Linfield, North Reading, they don't have any room for any 7th and 8th graders. That wouldn't be allowed for them. So, she didn't get to play last year, and this year she's already got 20 points and has been leading the area the whole way, certainly leading the area in assists, and is coming up on the single season school record for assists as well. So just a kid that enjoys dishing the puck. I think sometimes their coaches would like to see her shoot it a little bit more. But very unselfish. That's certainly, you see a kid that has only 4 goals, 5 goals and 17 assists. You can't call them selfish. That's for sure.
I would say, and just to keep with quickly with the sophomore theme, many of our best boys hockey players in the area, and I include Cape Ann, our sophomores. I mean, you got Emerson Marshall down in Gloucester, who's already got what, 40 something points, Nick?
Yeah, these are 38 points on the
38
season.
points
Yeah.
in 13 games, right?
Yeah, 12 games.
Okay.
Wow.
You have AJ Sacco at Masconomet, who has 16 goals, 27 points in 12 games. Well, you got Jake Vanner at St. John's Prep, Christian Rose at St. John's Prep, Cam Umla at St. John's Prep, all standout sophomores. So it's a good list out there of kids who can, 10th graders who are getting it done, apparently on the hard court and on the ice.
Yeah, Brett Cunningham, Colby Jewell, two other sophomores for Gloucester.
Yeah.
And goalie Nick Tarantino who's been hot lately. I mean, Gloucester's kind of, they got Costanzo, but after that, it's a stable of sophomores kind of carrying them.
I think we would be remiss not to mention the girls basketball. I mean, Salem's number one scorer, Yamlet Guerrero, averaging 19 a night. She's only a freshman, and she's ridiculous. I've heard from a couple of opposing coaches that just rave about her ability to score the basketball. I mean, she is like a game changer. If she's around for 4 years, she's 1,000-point scorer for sure, maybe even more than that.
She's scoring more than half their points per game, I believe.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
At least.
And then you look at Peabody and the whole, with the exception of Taylor Betancourt, the whole team is sophomores. I mean, Logan Lamazny, Abby Betancourt, the whole crew. So they got a lot over there too. I don't know off the top of my head if Cecilia Kay for Fenwick, she's new there. Is she a sophomore too? She's young, I think. I know she's not a senior.
I don't know. I don't remember her from soccer or field hockey, so I'm not sure about that.
No, I know she's new to the school. I don't know for certain if she's a freshman or a sophomore or what, but she's averaging a double-double for arguably one of the best teams in the state. I know they're facing top-ranked Franklin this week. They're really only behind St. Mary's there in Division III, and I mean, if you go division for division, I mean, I think Fenwick would be regarded as a top 10, top 15 team in the whole state. And she's averaging a double-double for them.
Kay is a sophomore. I just checked in our files.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 17 points and 12 and a half boards a game. Of course, the two leading rebounders in the area, and a shout out to our correspondent, Jean DePlacido. I'm just looking at her stats now. Lamazny leads the area in rebounding, and Kay is second. So the two sophomores pulling the can rooms off the glass, if you will.
For the Cagers.
That's right.
Good stuff.
Guerrero has made 18 threes. I mean, that's that's incredible. And
what? When I was looking at those stats, what jumped out at me is it Zapaj from Masconomet has 44 3-pointers.
Crystal, she's a senior. She is a senior. I was just gonna say she's got the ball in her hands a lot more this year than she did last year. Of course, last year Masco had those 4 outstanding seniors that took almost all their shots. And I remember she was like kind of a spot up shooter, a 6-man, instant offense off the bench type of thing. And could
But
make,
that's about 4 made threes a game. That's pretty good.
Yeah, she's a great shooter. And obviously this year with the chance to run the offense, kind of through her hands and be more of a focal point is really taking advantage. I mean, she has almost twice as many threes as the next person in the area. She's got 44. Third place has 22. That's half. So, I mean, that's, I'm sure that I don't know which of the tri-towns she lives in, but I'm sure there's a hoop outside that she's been practicing on to shoot that well.
Hey, when you're from the tri-town, you take the trifectas, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing,
you shoot it from Boxford into Topsfield and works out all right,
Yeah, whatever garage that hoop is hoisted on, probably had to have the door replaced a few times from all those rebounds. It's like Larry Bird says. I mean, you're gonna make that many threes. Think about how many you have to take to practice to get that good.
Right.
Well, if you're making shots, you're not damaging your garage all that much. Case in point, reverse in my case growing up, did some garage damage, I think, So.
Hey, let's switch gears for a minute. I have a topic that came to mind when you brought it up earlier, Bill. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, jump online and do so. Jean DePlasso, the aforementioned Gene, the writing machine, wrote a great piece this past Monday on Susan Girton and the Marblehead swim program and all the success she's had. And I know that I've known that Susan has been there as long as I've been at the newspaper, and I figured a few years before that, but I didn't realize she's been doing it for over 40 years. She's 80 years old. I would never have guessed that. I would have guessed,
Yeah.
mid-60s. And, she's universally loved by her school, her swimmers, her community, the swimming community at large. So it got me thinking about, and I'm sticking to the winter only because we could certainly go quite a bit further out with the fall and spring. But boy, there are some fantastic coaches in our area that not only have had tremendous success, but have stayed the course, year after year after year, and in many cases kept up that high level of success as times change and athletes change and the sports themselves change. But Sue Girton is a great example of someone who's, if not at the top of that pyramid, right there among coaching legends. I think off the top of my head of people like Manny Costa. And I know we talked about Manny recently, but 800 wins at St. John's Prep, defending state champions. They're undefeated this year. You have to think that they're a huge favorite to win the state title again. Manny is as legendary gets in high school wrestling circles, especially in this area. And I would even narrow it down to more the North Shore, where, certainly I don't think it has the overall popularity that it might in, say, like the Merrimack Valley or other parts of the state. Maybe that's just a testament to how strong the passion for basketball hockey is. But those who are serious about wrestling know how good Manny has done as the architect of that St. John's Prep program, how they've continued to get better and better and better and better. And, he's a big reason why. So Manny comes to the top of my head right off the bat. You look at some of the basketball coaches that we have, I think of like, Pat Valou has been around a long time in Danvers. You think about Paul Moran, he's been at a couple of different schools, but he's had a lot of success. I switched to boys hockey, and I think of Mark Leonard winning his 250th game this year. I know Christian Hansen at St. John's Prep is coming up on his 200th win there, and he won about 80 games at Salem before that. Dale Dunbar down at Winthrop has had all kinds of success down there. In track, I mean, my God, so many great coaches. You got Fernando Rocha and Dave Jellison and
Braz.
Sorry,
Braz.
what did I say, Rocha?
Yeah. You gave him the name of his brother-in-law. I don't know how well that would go over. So
when I see him this spring out at a lacrosse game, I will be sure to make sure to get his forgiveness on that one. That is a vow I don't want to make. But it just got me to thinking, like, we really have some outstanding coaches. And it's kind of like the thing, we're obviously taping this on Tuesday. People were whining today earlier about, well, Tom Brady didn't mention New England and blah, blah, blah. Like, get over yourselves. Who cares? Like, why can't you just be happy for what it was? Will, you tweeted out something that made me laugh. Like, if that's all you have to worry about, go to the library and get a book, or go snowshoeing, or, find something else to do with your life besides complaining. And I think people take a lot of these coaches for granted because that, it's like a comfortable old shoe or sweatshirt. It's always there. It's there when you need it. And, it's when they're gone that maybe you realize that, like, wow, we had it really good. So enjoy these coaches. If your children have a chance to play for them, I mean, relish in that. If you're just a fan of North Shore Athletics, get out and watch one of them and their teams perform, because, these things don't last forever. And I just think we're really fortunate in this area to have such dedicated and successful head coaches that choose of their own volition to stay for a long, long time.
Phil, with your list, I'm thinking going back all my years when I was at WESX many decades ago, I was thinking of Dave Jellerson. Sue Girton was another one, obviously, that you had brought up, but I did a feature with her just a few years ago now. But when we used to have those printed out coaches directories in the office, right? With the coaches and their phone numbers. and Dave Jellison, it seems to me, he was on those lists, and so was Sue Girton. And at the time, years ago, Fernando Braz was running, when I first came, I think, in the area. So,
Yeah.
so these two, I think, maybe date back before Fernando, but
Steve Sawyer and Hamilton Wenham.
Yeah,
There
I
you
should
go.
mention Steve.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Steve's a really good one.
Yeah, the other Peabody guy, Stan McKean, too, with the soccer and the
Yep.
hoop.
Wow. Kind Okay. See, I mean, that's the thing. It kind of goes on and
Keeps
on.
going. Yeah.
Even I know Peabody, Willie, the Peabody gymnastics coach, Russ Menser, he's been there for a long, long time, I know.
No longer.
No longer. Okay. Well, strike that from the record then.
We're going Paul. Mary Ryan's been around since 1984.
there
She
you
won,
go.
Yeah.
won one of 2 state titles ever for Rockport athletics, all sports. She's got one of them. She's still going strong there.
And
I
they just
believe-
Nick, the soccer coach there just retired.
Yeah, Dave Curley. Yeah, he
Dave
was around
Curley,
for a good 4 decades as well. Yeah.
we can throw Tommy Doyle in that group too. Tommy's been there a long time now, at least
He's
2
been
decades.
there since 90s, right? The late 90s.
Yeah.
early- Yeah.
Former player, and I haven't seen that they have been going this winter, but I'm assuming that St. John's Prep is still fencing, and if so, Jim Carter has been there a long,
Yes.
long time.
Yeah.
They
He's
are.
been there a
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
the
I
foil-
think too of the late Barb Damon, I mean, she
Yeah.
had decades and decades of great swim teams there in Danvers.
How about John Fortunato?
True.
Coached on, he was coaching when I first came. We were talking about Tom Grassa, who just stepped down a few years ago over at classical, but boys basketball. But John Fortunato been a head coach, and then he was assisting in different places. So he may even still be coaching now somewhere. He was helping out a few teams the last few years. I know that. So.
Well, and I can't believe we've forgotten this person who has been on the job. I want to say he's in his now 5th decade, but Billy ONeil over at Salem State.
Oh, geez.
Oh, great one. Absolutely.
I mean, I know that they have hit harder times as of recently. I mean, it's as competitive as ever to get, top talent, and there's so many choices for kids to play now. So Salem State doesn't have the wagons that they did, 25, 30 years ago. But Billy has been there since the 80s. Of course, Billy was a former NCAA champion for Boston University, and succeeded a legend himself and Mike Gilligan. And, the resume that he's put together is remarkable. 5 decades, coached Division III hockey at the same school. I mean, you want to talk about a Hall of Famer, Billy ONeil is it.
Oh, tremendous. I mean, the greatest. And I mean, to speak of Endicott hockey with RJ Tolan, if you ever mention Billy to him, I mean, he'll go off, and RJ's a man of few words, and Billy's one of the few subjects that he'll expound on. The respect that he has. I mean, just the respect in New England that Billy has among all of his peers is unparalleled, I think.
I think it goes beyond New England, honestly. I think it's one of those, he's nationally recognized as one of the greatest Division III men's hockey coaches of all time, rightfully so.
I think he's been there. I'm gonna guess on this, but it's just over 40 years. I'm thinking Billy ONeil at Salem State. I really think so.
I am going to look that up, because now I'm wondering if he started in like 79, and I don't.
Well,
think
I
so,
know. When I came to the area, I know Mike Gilligan was, I think, right leaving.
81. He started 81.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yep, 40 years. So there you go.
So that is that's crazy. And he stopped playing at BU in 79.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot of there wasn't a whole lot of time for him to get his feet under him, so to speak, from his playing days into his coaching. So again, pretty remarkable what he's done over the last 40 plus years.
And all these, all the names that we're mentioning, I think every one of them are really terrific people, and that, I mean, that is one of the things that that you just are struck by that. And now when you think of all these years, maybe there's a reason why they're as successful as they are with longevity.
Yeah.
Could add Chris Harvey too, while you're on the college subject there, Salem State hoops. Chris Harvey's been there quite a while.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
And think about who Chris has followed the footsteps in there. You know, I
Oh,
mean, you got
geez.
Jimmy Todd, Tom Thibodeau, you know, both NBA guys, NBA coaches. So, you know, those are big shoes to fill. And Chris has done a fantastic job of that. Got a great sense of humor on Twitter too. If you don't
Yeah.
follow him,
He does. Good follow.
Yeah, good, great guy. Yeah, we have
and
some.
somebody mentioned recently. Was it Nick? Did you mention this on the podcast about following the Marblehead boys soccer coach?
I think Willie can take credit
Willie
for that
did?
one, but
Oh my
yeah,
God, I
he's
love
the
it.
most positive guy on Twitter.
Yes. Yeah, oh, it's unbelievable. He brings a smile to my face every time I see him tweet, and it's not only like positive for Marblehead, but it's like NEC pride and way to go and
Yeah.
your head up. I mean, boy, what a jolt of fresh air he is. Follow him. That's great. What's his Twitter handle again, Willie?
I'll have to look it up
I
here.
think it's just MHD boys soccer, but
Yeah, MHDB soccer. So
B soccer,
Marblehead MHDB and then soccer, B soccer.
Yeah, he is cheeky class for sure. You know, real deal.
All right, gentlemen, we're closing in. We still have plenty of time left here, but some interesting stuff. Little different twist here to things in this week's podcast. Sounds good. I got to ask you, how about a Tom Brady comment? So it is official now. Tom Brady is going to retire. I don't know if he was trying to convince Giselle that maybe he could hang on another year or two, and that got shot down over the last 48 hours or so. But he has retired. So
yeah. Well, I know obviously the big thing is he didn't say anything about the Pats in his, announcement letter on social media. And yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are, pretty PO'd about that. I think it was definitely strange that he couldn't even give, one sentence. But I think at the same time, he did give the Pats a lot of, credit and stuff when he left to go to Tampa a couple years ago. I think he'll still have plenty of time to talk about his time with the Patriots and give them their, their credit and their due and their respect and all that. But it was a little strange. I don't know what you guys thought. I mean, to not even include that once in a pretty lengthy farewell letter, it was a little weird.
I mean, I don't think I've ever read a player's retirement statement. I don't plan on starting now, if we're being totally
yeah.
Well said. Well said.
I mean, I'll just say this. I'm just happy I got, speaking of, the relevant Boston sports legends, him and David Ortiz. I mean, we got to root for teams that they play for at the same time. I mean, I really don't care what their retirement statements say. So happy I got to see it in
I
action.
agree. I wasn't, it was more the media blowing this up and the Boston media, saying, oh, why would he do this? And I mean, who really cares, I guess? I think he's going to have his chance.
I don't know who tweeted it. I don't want to take, credit for it myself. Somebody tweeted early on and said, I guess it's fitting that the only thing that Tom Brady ended up sucking at was retiring. So,
it just, I don't think he does anything that's not calculated.
Right.
He's a pretty smart and savvy guy, business wise and all. And I think, maybe this is a precursor to something else. Like we said, like maybe he signs a one-day contract with the Patriots and makes it official and does it at Gillette. I mean,
right.
Who knows? It could be nothing. But I mean, my God, he gave us 6 Super Bowl titles. Who cares if he said goodbye or not? So what?
Yeah, I'm with you.
So what?
Today I was looking for one quick stat on Tom Brady, and it was his age. I just was curious. I just wanted to double check his birth date and age and so on. So I go on Wikipedia. He has the longest Wikipedia page I've ever seen. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and rightfully so, I imagine, being the greatest of all time. It's there's a lot of information on that page, as you would expect. So
somebody was probably out in a farmhouse in Iowa writing that thing, for
That's right.
In 2001, years and years and years, But I do think that, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be because it happens 100 times a day, but he was the youngest quarterback to win the Super Bowl when they beat the Rams, and he was the oldest quarterback to win a Super Bowl when the Bucs beat Kansas City. So I'd say, pretty good.
I think I saw something that he had more wins in his 40s than he did in his 20s, which is
He had
pretty
more
exciting.
touchdown passes in his 40s than he did in his 20s. I know
More
that.
passes, yeah.
But hey, there's another game in a couple of weeks. So for the fans, I guess we're on to Cincinnati.
I
Crickets.
like,
I chuckled. Good.
I think I actually don't have a problem with either the Rams or the Bengals, and I don't have a rooting interest really in either one. I picked the Rams to win the Super Bowl before the season started, so I suppose if that makes me look smart and they win, so be it. But I just want to be entertained. I don't care who wins. And I hope I hit some squares. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I hope it's better than the last year. Last time the Rams were in anyway. That was not much of a game.
The right team won that game, though, so it worked out okay.
Nick Kukuru, I think we missed what you said.
I was say the Rams going to get in the red zone this time, but I don't know. I mean, I wanted to pick. I picked the Rams too, but they just scare me. I feel like McVay just seems to be kind of teetering on the brink of a catastrophic call at any moment these playoffs, and their big name players are kind of feeling it, whereas the Bengals not quite as talented, but they got a lot of grit and they got a lot of guts.
Yeah, of course, this coach is like a McVay guy. So.
I wouldn't mistake Zach Taylor for Bill Belichick, though. And that Rams defensive line might be having Burrow sandwiches.
I think both defenses give the offense problems. I mean, was that number 91 for the Bengals? I mean, if he plays like he did against Kansas City, he's going to sack Stafford 5 times, and Mahomes was not the scrambler Stafford is.
I said,
Stafford's not the scrambler Mahomes.
Just entertain me. That's all I want. Just entertain me.
Hey, if nothing else, we got the great Snoop Dogg at halftime. So
that's true.
Gentlemen, well, let me just let's say we have 2 minutes left. All right. Is there a game or anything you guys are keeping an eye on this week that fans might want to get tipped off on any of the sports, any areas? Phil?
I'd say Gloucester at Masco boys hockey Saturday night should be a real good game. Last time they played, it went to overtime. AJ Sacco scored 9 seconds in, 4-on-3 power play. Each team had periods of dominance during the game, and I think they've kind of separated themselves as the 2 best teams in the Northeastern Conference. So the rematch should be pretty good. 6:30 at the Essex Sports Center Saturday night.
Yeah, if Masco wins that, right, they'd pretty much wrap up the NEC. They don't have any NEC losses. I know Gloucester's 2. So if they win that one, the race is pretty much over.
You're right. That's correct.
Who beat Gloucester if it wasn't Masco?
Masco and Winthrop.
Oh, Winthrop. Yep.
Dale Dunbar is always good for a gym.
Yeah, they're always sneaky.
The 5 all season, and Dunbar holds them to 1.
Speaking of Winthrop, you got the Peabody girls playing Winthrop Wednesday night. As you watch this, that most likely decides the girls hockey conference title. They tied the first time, and neither team has any other blemishes in the league. They've run the table besides that. So most likely, if that one's not a tie, it would decide the league title unless someone stumbles later in the year.
And Nino, aren't the Hamilton Wenham boys playing at the Garden Saturday night against Revere?
They are 8:30 at the Garden on Saturday night. That was rescheduled from this past weekend with the snow, so that'll be a good take. And then on Sunday we got Beverly against Catholic Memorial. Playing up again for Beverly. We'll see how they compete with a good team like that from the Catholic Conference.
That game counts, or what's the deal with that?
I assume it counts at this point. I don't think there's any more endowment games, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. They used to have those exclusion games too. I think those are removed under the new system, but then they got the endowments with St. Mary's. So I'm just double checking.
I think it's part of their 20-game schedule, so I believe it counts.
Yeah, I think so too. But you never know with what happened with the St. Mary's game there.
Right. True. And, not a game, but we should shout out Marcus Norden of Hamilton Wenham. He hit his 1,000th point last week against Ipswich.
Went for 42, right, in the game?
What's that?
Didn't he go for 42 in a game last week?
He did. He went for 42. I think he's gone over 40 points twice this season and over 30 a couple other times. So, and this is, he's a senior, obviously going over 1,000, but they only played, 7 or 8 games his junior season. So pretty impressive stuff for him. He didn't even... when I spoke to him, he was so surprised that he got it this early, especially with that shortened season last year. So he's going to have a chance to I don't know what the school record is there, but he can, get close to 1,200 points.
I would think Chris Grancio holds that. Chris was a 6'7" center. Bill, you probably remember him. Mid to late 90s, dominant player, went on to play, I want to say at Salem State, with maybe the Pratt brothers, Nick Kooks from Gloucester,
Okay.
with John and Jay Pratt.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Grancio was a beast, scored a ton of points.
Yeah. Anyway, quite the accomplishment for him. They're struggling to find the win column this year. They got a lot of young kids playing big minutes for them, but he's been a bright spot for sure.
All right, on that bright spot of an ending, we'll call it our ending here. So, gentlemen, good talking with you, and we'll talk again soon.
Hey,
Thanks,
boys.
Bill.